Welcome to the training log for the week of April 10th, 2023. I finally figured out how to plug a headset into my phone, so hopefully the audio is a little bit cleaner than the previous weeks. So first things first, an update on my shoulder. I'm still plowing ahead, lifting as much as I can on it without pain or discomfort, which is a little bit less than 50% what my other side can do in most movements, a little bit more in some, a little bit less in others. I saw an orthopedist just yesterday, and as of now I have an MRI scheduled for about 2.5 weeks out, and that's going to be looking at the extent of any labrum damage, which she suspects there is some due to the nature of the dislocation, and my results on some just preliminary tests of strength. Right now, if given a choice, I would probably lean towards surgery over not getting surgery if there is extensive damage and needs to be repaired. Apparently at my age, it's not always a clear decision because if you're younger than me, they usually do surgery automatically just because you are pretty much guaranteed to recover. If you're older, recovery becomes a lot more difficult, so it becomes potentially less worth it to go through all the trouble of repairing it. I figure I want this shoulder back at 100%, not just rehab to 80% or 75% or good enough. I want it to be as reliable as possible. And if there's extensive damage to anything, I want that repaired. And personally, I think that I'm probably a lot more likely to recover better than the average 30-year-old, because the average 30-year-old is inactive and has let their entire body just kind of atrophy and fall away. Whereas I've been forcing my body to break down, recover consistently for the last 10 years. So I just have a feeling it's going to react better. Until then, it's going to be training as I have, which is doing as much as I can with the right side until I feel pain and discomfort, and then just hope to build everything back up as good as I can. I will be starting physical therapy soon, mostly to appease my insurance, because apparently they want to see you do some kind of PT before you get an MRI, because insurance is, a terrible industry full of crooks. But maybe they'll show me some stuff to work the smaller specific muscles I need to build, because I have a feeling that right now I'm doing a lot of compensating to get the same movements because I have a lot of muscle to work with and a lot of experience with adapting my body to use everything to the best of its ability. So right now I'm not really going in with a specific training plan. I don't even have a split. I'm just kind of taking each day with what feels right, and just kind of working like this. For instance, 1 plate on the right side, 2 plates on the left side, slightly reduced range of motion on the right because I can't really go all the way down my shoulder right now, and it's just what it ends up being. I have to change my angles a little bit, but I'm even back to overhead pressing, which is honestly probably going to be the hardest movement to build back up compared to anything else. All in all, I think I'm recovering extremely quickly, and I'm very happy that I can start using outside the body, even at reduced weights. But hey, it's something. I can still train, I can still work, I can still set PRs, and that's all I really want. And although it is set to snow again on Monday, thank you Wisconsin, I have been able to bring some of my stuff outside and start the outdoor training, which means that overhead work is back on the table, which right now is basically limited to these one-handed snatches. I like this movement just because I think it's fun and it doesn't take a ton of energy to do, because it's not a lot of weight you're moving. You're not actually putting a ton of strain on the muscles. Not a lot of fatigue is being gathered. But I think it's going to be a good carryover to some stuff I can't work on right now. It still has the explosive component, which is going to be useful on other forms of cleans, and I think a little bit also in even like the push press. It's building the stability of my left shoulder, which, hey, if I can't have 2 good shoulders, at least I'll have 1 good shoulder. And finally, I may or may not have to do bag over bar this summer with one hand. We'll see how my other arm is feeling by then. I feel like that kind of arcing explosive movement might not be a good idea, but I will try to put the bags over the bar with just my left hand, and I feel like this is going to carry over to that pretty well. First day I trained these, I just basically did heavy singles, and I did manage to work up to 145, which if it's not an all-time PR for either arm, it definitely ties my right hand PR, and this is with no practice before. This is the first day I've done this in like a year or so I think it's a pretty good sign. I wasn't able to get 150, but when you're dealing with this slave weight, even 5 pounds can be a significant amount of weight. Plus, I'm just doing kind of a aggressive front raise. I'm not really doing a snatch here. There's no dip to catch. There's no turning to the left to really catch it easier. So I think once I learn any of that, I'll be able to put up higher numbers. Being outside means I can start training some of these strongman events for the summer, which I still plan to do regardless of what my shoulder's looking like, even if it means waving off some events. This is the yoke squat, which I set up a bit higher than it's probably going to end up being. It's going to be a little bit lower than this, so I'm going to have to work even harder, but this is 600 times 15, and I'm guessing that 600 is about the weight that they're going to be. It's not been announced yet. And I think that anywhere between 15 and 20 reps is probably going to be what it takes to win that event based on how the events went last year. So not a bad start, and I will hopefully be able to get more reps at a little bit lower yoke height with some training. I also train the yoke walk because it's also an event this summer. This is 650, which is 30 pounds below the competition weight, and for the competition distance of about 50 feet. Now, I am not good at yoke walk. Something about the bar being on my back versus my hands and the sway of the yoke is just very difficult for me. I don't have a good foot cadence, so I was mostly just happy to get it down to the end in one smooth pass without dropping it. This week I also managed to get my new spider bar from Elite FTS intact. The freight company didn't destroy it this time, so I was finally able to do the Tate squat, which is a reverse banded high box squat with the spider bar. Now, I've seen Dave Tate do this, and I saw him do it with Juji Mufu, and it just looked like a really fun lift, and it's the first thing I want to try with this new bar. Now, I really underestimated the power of those blue bands, especially doubled up, so next time I might try and either set them up so the bands aren't giving quite as much help at the bottom, or use slightly weaker bands, because it took quite a bit off of the bottom that I wasn't expecting. But I did work up to the full 1,000 pounds, which was certainly a task just to walk out, because at the top there is no assistance from the bands, although it was a bit easier off the box than I thought it was going to be. Granted, all things considered, it's probably a good thing. This isn't a very demanding lift for the shoulders, but it might be good not to be grinding out of the very bottom with the recently dislocated shoulder. Still, a really fun lift, and I'm glad I finally got to do it. And maybe if the bar had arrived intact the first time, I would have been doing this instead of the Hatfield, and my shoulder would still be intact. But we can't change the past. I'm not suggesting that T-Force freight shipping is responsible for my injury, but I'm not suggesting they aren't. After that, I decided that one lift at 1,000 pounds, help or not, was not enough, so I added a second one for the week. This is a 1,000 pound trap bar pull with the Spud Inc. deadlift harness. Now, I got the strap set to what I am pretty sure is about what my hand height would be if I was using straps, which is just having the fingertips wrap around the bar, and I managed to work up to the full 1,000 pounds, which I felt like I probably could do it, but I wasn't sure if the pressure was going to be too much on my shoulder, or if maybe the straps would just be harder than grabbing the bar, but it all ended up being relatively easy, and it makes me very confident that when the time comes, I'll be able to pull 1,000 using my hands. So I guess just take this as a lesson or some inspiration. Even when one part of your body is injured, you still have lots of parts of your body that aren't injured, and there's really no reason to hold back on using them, because they aren't compromised, they aren't at risk. They will work just as well as they do when you're healthy because they are not injured. Now, please use common sense and listen to your body. If something is still hurting, regardless of whether it should or not, stop doing the thing that's hurting it, but, get back out there and give it a try when you're injured. Don't just sit on your ass and rest all day long. And that's all I've got for this week. As always, if you have any questions or want to see anything in particular, let me know, and I will see you all next week.